Hi, my name is Melissa, and I ran my first half marathon May 2nd, 2020, while I was 22 years old. I wanted to make this video, one, because it might inspire someone to do something they want to do in their life, but mostly because I wanted to reflect upon my running journey. It's something that's hugely important to me, way more important than I ever thought it would be. Or if someone's interested in running, they can know what I did, because I knew nothing. So everyone has a reason why they run. I didn't start running for a specific reason. I didn't start running because I had a cause I was raising money for. I didn't start running because I wanted to lose or gain weight. Well, lose weight, but I didn't lose weight anyway, so not the reason. But I didn't even start running because I wanted to be healthy. None of those are why I started running. But I think I've always wanted to run. There was a chunk of time in my life when, maybe 3 years, when my dad and my brother would run 5Ks. And I was fairly young, probably no older than 13. And I actually ran a couple with them. But I was introduced to that environment of racing and running. I was there to cheer at that finish line and, meet up with them at different mile markers and eat the snacks afterwards. I was there, I saw running, and because of that, I think the connection in my brain went, running is something cool. It's admirable. And yeah. Ever since then, I wanted to run a marathon, and it would be like my bucket item list. It's the only thing really, besides like maybe skydiving, that's on my bucket list. And when people would ask me, what superpower would you want? I would respond, like my response is, I would want to be able to run marathons. I just think it's so cool how someone's body can run so far. Like 26 miles is a long way. So in my brain, running was cool. I'm the type of person who binge watches marathon videos and then will cry over them because the emotion behind crossing the finish line is so strong. That's just how I am. I'm a very emotional person, but I love running. Like, I loved watching other people run, I should say. I did not love running. In fact, there were times where I was close to starting running. In my senior year of high school, I went to the introduction meeting of cross country and then never ran again. And my junior year of college, it must have been, I made goals with my friend / mentor, Erica, who I met with basically on a weekly basis. And one of the goals was run a 5K, working towards a 10K, and then a half marathon. And at the end of the year, when we reviewed my goals, I didn't do it. Didn't even start doing it. So I made it my goal again for the following year. And still didn't do it. So literally I had this set goal on paper, and it wasn't enough. I did all my other goals, but not that one. Didn't even start running. So why did I run then? What changed? I kind of hit a point where I actually started going to the gym in October of 2019 with Erica and our other friend Renee, who is this boss mom who's one of the strongest women I know, and she's birthed 4 children. I don't know how she does it, but I was not good. But I was introduced to the gym. I went on a treadmill, but it was not an actual starting point for me as far as my running journey. But at the end of the beginning of January 2020, I had a moment, a spiritual awakening, or existential crisis. They kind of go hand in hand for me, where I was like, I'm not doing enough. Like, I am not doing enough. I need to just start doing things, like, with courage. Like, I need to be courageous. And really, I just felt like I've grown so much. I grew so much spiritually, so much mentally over the previous 2 years, and I hit this point where I was like, I need to do something more. And I was like, God, what do you want me to do? And in my mind, he told me to sign up for a half marathon. And mind you, I was not able to run a mile. I could not run. And that goal I had of running a 3K or a 10K, nope, it was sign up for a half marathon. So I signed up for a half marathon, the first half marathon that was in my area at the start of January 2020. So I had about 5 months to train, and I knew nothing. I cannot emphasize enough about how little I knew about running. But I had a pair of running shoes. These are just Nike ones, and they're Flex 2016 Run. Don't know what that means, but these are the sneakers I had. And then I got myself some foot inserts from Amazon that I put in there to try and not injure myself. So that was what I had. And I started running. Actually, before I even started running, I told people that I signed up for a half marathon, and their usual responses were, oh, that's awesome, do you like run? And I'd be like, no, I have no idea, I don't know. But I told people, I was accountable to them. And then I had one friend who made it real. Her name's Liz, and I told her, hey Liz, I signed up for a half marathon. And she was like, awesome, I did a couple of those, like, what day is it? I'm putting in my calendar, I'm going to be there. And she put it in her calendar, and she said, I will be there, cheering you on. And that made it real. I couldn't back out of it then. Like, I had paid my money, I was going to run this half marathon. I had to because Liz was there. Liz was gonna be there. I had to finish it. I went onto a marathon page, downloaded a beginner's half marathon running plan. It was 16 weeks of training, and I had about 18 weeks. So the first 2 weeks, I struggled my way up to running a mile, because it said that you should be able to run 1 to 2 miles before you started this training plan. So I had a little leeway there, and I was able to get up to a mile barely. And I ran in the gym. I ran on a treadmill, which was actually huge for me. People say how much they hate running on treadmills, and I much rather run outside, but I knew so little about running that I had to learn how to pace myself. And doing that on a treadmill is much easier. I was running way too fast to be able to sustain any kind of distance. Because in my mind, I was like starting off like, oh, 10-minute miles. That's how quick a person runs a mile. And that's not true. I had to slow it way down, and then build up that way. So here's the thing. When you start running, no matter what, like, it's the discipline that you build. So my plan was 4 times a week I would run. There was an extra day you could run, or you could take a rest day, and I took a rest day every single day, and I always ran. There was an option on Mondays to do like an aerobic activity, and I never did that because I rather run for 15 minutes and get it over with instead of work out for 40 minutes. So that's where my mind was. But basically, I consulted with the 2 biggest runners in my life, my friend Greg and my friend Christina, and really my friend Greg especially. Like, I asked him all the questions. I was like, and he gave me all the answers. So shout out to Greg for carrying me through those trainings. Yeah, it's crazy. I knew nothing. I literally knew nothing. But he encouraged me, like, if you just want to cross the finish line, which was my only goal, was to make it through. I didn't have a certain time frame or anything like that. My only goal was to finish, and he's like, okay, just get your miles in. So I made an effort, even if it wasn't like the I don't know. I think the plan was Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday run. I don't even remember because I basically ended up running Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Those were my 4 running days. So, but I made sure to get my miles in. I followed the plan, got my miles in. And I always took the easier option. Like I said, I would run for 15 minutes instead of doing the longer exercise. There's one day where you could work on improving your pace, and I never did that. I never tried to run faster intentionally to like speed up so my pace was faster. Never really tried to do that. Also, there was things where you could cycle, so the plan basically was like, essentially you run 9 minutes, walk 1, run 9 minutes, walk 1. And it was saying, so like on a 25-minute run, it would say you can run 25 minutes straight, or you can cycle 9 minutes 1, 9 minutes 1. And then instead of running just 5 more minutes, it would say run 9 minutes, walk 1, so you'd cycle to the nearest 10. And I never did that. I would cycle it up to 25 minutes, and then I would be home and go inside. So I did kind of take a couple shortcuts like that, but there was never a day, a week where I didn't get my 4 runs, and that was huge for me. I posted a picture every week at the end of the week of after I finished my long run, and I held myself accountable, and I had a bunch of friends who would encourage me and say, like, you got this, you know, like, good job, how's training going? So that was really exciting. I did my first 5 weeks in the gym. It was so hard. Running 3 miles, I remember my first long run at 3 miles was harder than running a half marathon for me. The discipline of learning how to breathe, that's the hardest part. You have to learn how to breathe. Your body has to learn how to just move. And it's hard. Like, my first month of training was so hard, but I went from running barely, we'll call it running a mile, but really not, to running 5 miles in a month. And I could do it. I did it, and it was hard work. I had a hard time calling myself a runner because I didn't feel like it was something that was, I wasn't a runner. It wasn't a lifestyle for me. It wasn't something I wanted to continue to do. I was going to run this half marathon, and I was going to stop and call it a day because, you know, we aim for half completing our goals in life. So maybe not a marathon, but definitely a half marathon because I paid for it, and Liz is going to be at the finish line. So that was very much my mentality. But something happened after I ran 5 miles. After that 4th week of training, something changed in my mind. I don't know what it was, but there was something there. And so I always tell people, if you can run 1 mile, you can run 3 miles. And if you can run 3 miles, you can run 5 miles. It was a habit, and my runs weren't hard anymore. There were days where it was hard, like just a hard run. And I really don't know what made the difference between a hard run and an easy run. Like the ones that I'd be like dancing and singing to, versus the ones where I wanted to cry and walked home. Yeah, I don't really know what that difference was, but the actual act of running wasn't challenging anymore. My body was hooked. Like, I'd wake up and I know first thing in the morning, like, I need to go for a run. My body just, like, I had this energy where it's like, I've got to run. I've got to run. I've got to move my body. I've got to get my run in. And it would, like, come at weird times. I'd, like, wake up in the middle of the night and be like, let's go for a run. And I didn't. I would not run in the dark, but something happened. And I think it was just the discipline was built. Running taught me a lot about, like, making progress and not having to be perfect, because I freak out when I'm not perfect. Not necessarily perfect, but I always aim for, like, this status in my mind called good. And good is, like, totally relative and not even real, but I always want to be good at something. So that, I think that's probably part of the reason why I struggle to call myself a runner, because I didn't think I was good. The more I ran, the more experience I got. And I found out when I ran on my long runs outside, my phone would die very quickly, and I have no idea why, but it would die. And so I got lost, like, on one of my very first long runs in an area I didn't even know, and I had to, like, find my way home, and I ended up running way further than I needed to because I was lost. And I didn't have, like, a GPS or anything to count, like, mileage as I ran, because the watch I had, which Liz gave me after I said my phone dies, and I have no way of pacing myself at all if my phone dies, because I can't check the time to know how long I've been running and when to start walking and running again. So she gave me this, and all I use on it is a stopwatch, and I just keep it running so I know when 9 minutes have passed. But yeah, I learned, so I can't touch my phone, so I just I got Amazon, the, like, basic over-the-ear, I didn't grab them, but over-the-ear headphones. I got this belt thing, a spiel belt, I think that's what they're called, yeah. A spy belt, I don't know what it's called, but I got this one because I'm too little for a Nathan one. Nathan is like a running brand. I have a Nathan water bottle, though, that I started running with because my friend Christina's like, you need to start running with what you're gonna, like, actually be running with. So I would carry my phone, my belt, my watch while I ran. I learned that you have to fuel yourself during races, or during running. My friend Greg suggested, like, he told me about gels and chews and all that kind of stuff, and I ended up really liking the gels, and I don't even mind how they taste, so that's what I would use before a long run. I'd take one gel, and that was pretty much it. I didn't even take one midway until I was running. It was over 10 miles, so those are kind of like the supplies I got. But I just kept running, and like said, like, it became something I needed to do. It cleared my mind. Something changed where it went from, like, being kind of something that I was going to do because I felt compelled to do it, to something I was going to do because I wanted to do it. And I was going to do it no matter what. And that's when the fun part of the pandemic came in. So I was halfway through training. I think I was there at week 7 or 8. I was running 10 miles at this point, and half marathon's only 13.1 miles, so I was mostly there. And my race got canceled because too many people. So I could stop running. Everything, I had gone from 0 miles to 10 miles in probably 2 months. And that whole process, again, like, you can run 1 mile, you can run 3 miles. If you can run 3 miles, you can run 5 miles, because that's the hardest part. And if you can run 5 miles, you can run 10 miles. Like, at that point, adding mileage isn't that bad. So I was pretty confident I could continue running and make it to 13 miles. That's not that much more at that point. But my race was canceled. It wasn't even a question in my mind. It was like, well, I'm still gonna run. I kept training. I started running with my friend Alyssa on my, like, middle runs of, like, 6 to 7 miles. She ran with me, which was hugely important because there was at least one day in there where I don't think I would have run if she didn't run with me. So shout out to Alyssa. And she really inspired me too, because she didn't train for running, and I kind of was like, you want to run 6 miles with me? And she was like, sure. I I hurt way less than I thought I would be. I've had ankle problems before and like shin splints on my right side before, which is why I got these like foot inserts in the first place. So I got those in hopes of my legs not hurting, my shins not hurting. But I was not expected for the knee pain that I had, and it really wasn't that bad till the end, and I was running real long distances, like 11, 12 miles. I experienced like weird pains I was not expecting. I would get shoulder pain, which I forget what that means, but something about my shoulder, and that was the worst. It was excruciating. Like I'd walk home if that started. And it didn't happen often, but a couple times I was like, oh my gosh, like it hurt. And that doesn't even make sense. That wasn't a part of my body I was expecting to hurt. It's my shoulder, not my feet. But it was okay. I think my hardest run was my long run of 11 miles. It wiped me out. I almost fell near like the 8-mile mark, and I was like, if I had fallen and didn't catch myself, I would have not gotten up. I would have called for a ride home. There was just a mental block there that day. So I'm not here to say like, yeah, it just becomes magical and it's easy. No, you have to work at it, but you can do it. So when you run, it's not emotional on race day when you cross the finish line because you finished that half marathon. It's emotional because you've been running for 3 months of your life, and all of that has accumulated to that moment. So when race day came, I had amazing support. I got to make my own course. I used this website. It's like a map. You plan out your racing, your run, and it tells you how much the mileage is. And that's what I used. I would plan out for every run. I'd plan out, how my long runs, because my shorter runs were time-based, so like run 25 minutes, run 45 minutes, run 20 minutes, and then the long run would be the only distance running. Was able to map it out in areas that I was already running, very comfortable running, areas I wouldn't get lost while I was running. I actually drove the course the night before or a week before with my dad, so I knew exactly where to go. And I had a bunch of people who were willing to support me. I was able to get a couple donations to give to a charity that means a lot to me. And people were just excited to like be a part of something. So, and Liz was there. Liz was there still. So they, Liz and her family, Micah and her sons, were there at miles 2 and 3.
Cheer for her. Come on!
Let's go!
Run to win!
Is it car?
You got it. He waved.
You're doing good so far! Woohoo!
Don't overdo it.
And then I ran past my friend Taryn's house at mile 4. And I had a moment there where my shoulder hurt. I was like, this is not happening. I am 4 miles into this race. Like, this is not happening. But the song that was playing was Give Thanks to God by House Fires. And it was saying, like, God already knows what I need. Like, He knows, He knows, He knows. Why do I worry? And I kind of just gave it over to God. I'm like, God knows what I need. And I'm going to run. I'm going to run. I have all my friends here. I have exactly what I need. I've trained. And the pain went away. Like, the pain vanished almost instantly once I was like, here you go, God. Like, I'm running. And that was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had in my entire life, was that moment. That day in general it was windy. It was very windy. I purposely picked a route. I didn't think I'd be running against the wind, and it was just a windy day. But I was running fast. I think I said at mile 3, like, I'm running too fast. I need to slow down because I had all this adrenaline, and I've never ran, like, a race like that where, like, I realized I would have that much adrenaline. Like, had mapped out all my times and told people when I'd be passing the mile markers of their houses and when they were going to meet me. And I was afraid I was running too fast, that I was going to meet the people who were going to give me water, because I decided not to run with my water bottle on that day. So I was freaking out. I was like, I need to slow down. Like, I knew I was running super quick. I was running 9 minutes and walking and still being under my mile markers. Mile 5, I passed my friend Beth's house, and she, like, drew on with chalk on the ground. I was like, go Melissa, and she, like, waved me on. Mile 5.5, I passed my church, and a whole bunch of people were there supporting me. Like, not too many, because, you know, obviously, like, pandemic, but people stayed their distance. It was fine. But like way more people were there than I had expected were gonna be there cheering me on. So I ran past that. I forgot my gel. Mackenzie, I told her to hand it to me, and she handed it to me, and I handed it back to her because I wasn't like thinking. I was like overwhelmed by the amount of love that was there. So I handed it back to her, and I was like running, and I'm like, my gel! Like I looked back and I said, my gel. Like I forgot it, and I was like, I can't go back to get it. So kept running. Mile 6.5, I'm pretty sure my friend Karen and her husband cheered me on near their house. Mile 7.5, I passed my friend Christina's house, who's a runner. Mile 8, my friends were meeting me in a parking lot of another church, and I had picked up like a little decorated rock, which I gave to one of the girls I babysit, who I love. Like someone had been like free rocks and they were painted, and I picked one up and I gave it to her. So I was like having a grand old time at this point. Like I felt good. I was enjoying myself. Like I was running fast. It was great. I decided to run with a rock for an extra half mile before I knew I'd see her. But mile 9, which was my a family I babysit for their house. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, kiddos. And then right after that, it got hard. There's like another stretch that I was running, and it's just across the street, like a long street. And I was running, and I was like, I don't see my friends ahead. Like, I thought they were going to be at the corner cheering me on, and they weren't. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, where are they? Like, I need water. I was so tired. But I turned the corner, and they had just, like, parked in an inlet. So I was like, thank goodness. I got scared. I was like, and they're like, how are you doing? How are you doing? And I'm like, I feel like I've run 10 miles now. So I was definitely starting to feel it. Physically, I was okay. I was just tired. And then I ran around a little loop, saw my other friend.
Woo! She's running a marathon! A half. I'm only half cool. Oh, you got me cold water. Oh, sorry. Love you. Bye! Woo!
To mile 11, I was getting tired. They were like long stretches. And I saw my parents, who gave me water, and they were going to meet me at the finish line.
Hey, you go, girl! Love you! Wave! Hi! Da 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 da! Bye-bye!
And so my parents were the last people I saw, and I still had 2 miles to run, and I was struggling. I was like, I have no idea how I was gonna make it. Like, I was so tired. I mean, I was gonna finish because I was that close, and I was like, I knew even if like something went terribly wrong, walk it and make it to the end. But it was so windy. Like my last mile, I was running against a wind wall. Like I had to push through the wind. It was brutal. It was the hardest mile of my life, I think. But I knew right around that corner I was gonna be sprinting as fast as my legs wanted to take me, which was not very fast at that point. But I did it. I crossed the finish line. I knew it was exactly how it needed to be. Even though I wasn't at a race, I had so much more support this way. Literally everyone I wanted there. Erica was there, Renee was there, my closest family member, like my parents were there, like pretty much everyone I wanted to be there or who have had like substantial roles in my life were there, and it was super special. I ended up running it in 2 hours 16 minutes, which is an 8-minute pace. Oh my gosh, no. It's a 10-minute pace, 23 seconds. So 10:23 was my average pace, which is way quicker than I thought I was going to be able to. I was averaging about 11-minute miles on my longer runs, so I cut a lot of time off. And actually, I ran it 5 minutes faster than the average woman runs a half marathon, so that's really cool. I had a great time. It was probably the best half marathon I'll ever run. Now it comes back to this, like, well, what am I gonna do? I really struggled with this. I'm like, well, am I gonna ever reach my goal of a marathon? I don't know. But here's the thing. Because my actual half marathon got canceled, I was able to defer. I could get a refund or I could defer my money to enter the race next year. And I chose to defer my money because I thought, well, if I'm gonna have to run a half marathon next year, I might as well just do the marathon. So my plan is to, in May 2021, when I'll be 23 years old, to run my first marathon. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to sign up the first day that I can. So I'm committed. When I can run a half marathon, I can do a lot more. My friends made me a sign that said, "We're so proud of you," and they had a Bible verse on it. And they said the point of the race is to grow more like Christ. And I've found that to be so true. I've learned a lot about God through my runs and just spending time with Him while I'm running. It's been a way for me to dial in to, like, instead of just cope, it became something like a tool to focus. And I've been able, I like to run and then like read my devotions and like tune into God that way, or run and then pray. And that's why I run. It's a way for me to practice serenity and to live a more sane life and to stay connected to God. I just want to encourage you that if you have any desire to run, to try it. And maybe your goal, you won't be so like spontaneous with like signing up for a half marathon, but if you can run a mile, you can run 3 miles. If you can run 3 miles, you can run 5 miles. If you can run 5 miles, you can run 10 miles. And if you can run 10 miles, you can run 11 miles. And if you can run 11 miles, you can run 13.1 miles. And I'm hoping that if you can run 13.1 miles, you can run 26.2 miles. We'll see. Check in with you next year.